guys? We are back. Man, I didn't think we were going to get this far. I felt like we've done a lot of great things, but we haven't even really touched the surface, to be honest with you. Mind you, this is our little side project, okay? Operation Jackpot. Okay, we are trying to win the lottery using AI um, with regards to a couple different things. Today is day number 4. We have some couple things to review. Hopefully, you guys have been keeping up with the episodes. I've been making some recaps, so it just kind of goes ahead. And for those of you guys who are busy and just like, hey, just give it to me short and sweet, you guys have those recaps. I don't think it does justice because we do some dig deeping, dig deeping. Can you say that? We do some deep digging, so to speak. Um, so let's get back to this, guys. So mind you, we really based this idea on 4 to 6 individuals who not only won the lottery once, but they won the lottery multiple times. So that's one thing that kind of intrigued me, and it kind of goes with anything and everything in life. It's just like, hey, if you want to do something, um, go find the people who've already done it and learn from them. You know, um, because success leaves clues. Okay, success leaves clues. So nonetheless, we're gonna get back to Richard because I think we picked some of his numbers, but we're actually gonna actually go into some of the numbers. So we talked about Richard, we talked about Stefan, we talked about Mohammed, we talked about Joseph. Okay. Um, Now we're gonna go ahead today. We're gonna talk about Gail because I want to focus on Gail, see exactly what he did. But Joseph actually went ahead and he gave me some pretty good ideas. Mohammed with the number pattern analysis, if you guys remember that, it was a little bit more so of equations, so to speak. Okay, it was a little bit more of equations. We still haven't done that. I think that would be a really, really good idea for what would be either Excel or maybe even coding. But we haven't even gotten to that point yet. But nonetheless, with regards to number analysis, guys, I mean, the first things first is you got to have some numbers to analyze. So I went ahead. I didn't want to take too much time because this was a process in it of itself, just trying to get these numbers. But I'm going to tell you something. There's a couple things I found. Okay, so I do have these numbers here. I'm selling them for $1 billion. Okay, so if you guys want to get these numbers, you can buy it from me for $1 billion, or you can just simply go to what I did, Powerball, Powerball lottery numbers, and I really want you guys to see this because when I did it on my own, so to speak, Powerball lottery numbers. This was California. 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 Okay. And we got to check our numbers too. So when I did this, for some reason or another, okay, it stopped me. It stopped me when I went to past winning numbers. So hopefully you guys saw what I did. Went to the website, went to past winning numbers. It stopped me after page 6. So I basically copied. All right. So you literally just go, not like that. You want to copy and paste. So you just literally copy and paste. You can use AI to go ahead get the numbers in an Excel sheet. That's something I know you guys can figure out on your own. But here's the thing, and this is when I thought, hey, you know what? I think we're on to something. Okay, I think we are on to something. Because notice how it only gives you the first 6 pages. You know, and I was just like, there's a couple things that come to mind. It's kind of like, wait a minute, why are you only giving me 6 pages? What about the seventh? And this goes all the way up to May 20th, 2024. And the very first thing that I thought to myself was, okay, if you guys are literally giving $195 million for a jackpot, why on God's green earth, okay, would you guys not have enough room in your server to get me the seventh page, the eighth page, the ninth page, the 10th page, why don't you have all of the data? As you guys can see, I'm literally clicking next. And for some reason, that kind of struck the chord. It was just like, hey, it's just kind of like anything. Hey, if you don't want me looking here, you know, um, the curious cat comes out. And it's just like, hmm. So that's something I found extremely interesting, with the fact that it only literally lets us see 6 pages of data. Okay, when I know that they can definitely have a lot more. And mind you guys, when we did this, we're just doing the Powerball. Um, we're not going and looking for every single. It's just like, hey, we just focus on one thing. Let's start this project. Let's see where it takes us. Let's learn some new things. We already learned quite a few things. We dabbling into what would be the theorems for mathematics and whatnot, statistics, we just get a better all overall sense. um a little bit of fun. Obviously the goal here is to win. I mean, is that the exact let it be all be goal? No, that's not. you know let's just go back. It's always nice to have a little reminder. It's just like, hey, why did we start this? Okay, first one was marketing for YouTube channel. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty clever. I'm taking you guys literally behind the scenes of what I'm doing and the research and whatnot. Data analysis. I do know that data analysis is one of those really trigger words, those highlight words, those words that people like to hear, so to speak, or that people say, hey, data scientist, data analysis, data, look at data here, data there, metadata, all kinds of data. But I think being able to look at numbers and see what is the story. Okay, what story do these numbers tell? Okay, being able to interpret those numbers, and above all, being able to predict and being able to have the correct models. Okay, number three is my personal favorite, shits and giggles. It's just kind of like, hey man, life is too short. Have a little bit of fun. Learn a couple things down the road. Learn a couple things down the way, so to speak, and then win the lottery. I mean, at the end of the day, we kind of did the math already. It's $144 project. If we can break even, I'd be happy. You know, but with that being said, guys, always a little friendly reminder to go back to why you started. I have the numbers. Ta-da! And I have them in an Excel sheet. I think that's literally probably one of the most basic, simplest ways for you to go ahead and just look at numbers, Excel. Because I think we've all, I mean, unless you live under a rock, you know, we've run into Excel either at school, either at work, or what have you. Excel is a phenomenal tool, and it actually has a lot of utility even without a computing language such as C++ or Python or Java or what have you. I mean, just look at this. Okay, just look at this. I'm gonna go ahead and based on those 6 pages of numbers, I might have I missed a few just because of the way I copied and paste. But just looking at it overall, okay, I'm gonna just highlight this right here. So this is just for number one, right? Because remember, there's 5 balls. There's technically 6, but the sixth one is the Powerball. So we have these 5 balls. I want to take a look. So I highlighted all number one. I want to see some numbers. So if I just go, I think it's view. Nope, it's not view. Is it data? I don't think it's data. Is it format? Is it insert? Give me a second. I gotta find it. I haven't used Excel in a long time. Believe it or not, I think this is the first time I could go back to using Excel since I started, and you guys can tell that I'm a little rusty. But I want to go into data. Oh, here it is. Column stats. Okay. So if I go to data, so I highlighted the row I wanted. I go to data, and I go to column stats. So I'm just going to get some basic statistics here. Okay. And I get something around these lines here. And the thing that I'm looking at the most is a couple things, right? Because this here is just a bar graph of basically looking at how often numbers hit. And what's the very first thing that you see? Okay. The very first thing that I see here is that, so this would technically be our hot numbers. Okay. 1, 9, 8, 4, and 5. Okay. Out of the, it says total rows 1,000. I didn't want the 1,000. I think it was out of the 130 numbers that we got, 113 numbers that we got. Okay. The chances of getting a 1, okay. Mind you, it's funny because we talked about uniform distribution and we talked about normal distribution. Okay. And remember when we had our notes with normal distribution, it's basically saying that it's kind of like the roll of the dice. It's just like you have the same exact probability of rolling any number. Okay. And in our case, it's just like, hey, we have the same exact probability of rolling any number. However, based on our data, there seems to be a common theme. And the common theme is that for ball number one is the most popular number. Out of all the numbers, one showed up 15 times. Okay. And if we take the same idea for ball number two, you start to see, hey, 31 seems to be the most frequent number for number two. And then we go to 3. And then we go, hey, look, 33, 35, 32, 21, 37. Then we go to number 4. Okay. The ball number 4, 47 looks to be a pretty good number as that showed up 7 times. Then we go to ball number 5. Okay. So we're looking at this and it's saying, hey, you know what? You have 69 seems to be the most popular number for ball number 5. And then we go to Powerball. And Powerball, you have a better chance of going ahead and picking 20. And you would have gone ahead and might have hit, you know. Mind you, this here, the data that we have was limited by the source that we had, which is literally the Cal Lottery numbers. Like I mentioned, they only had 6 pages. For some reason or another, they don't give more data than that. I have my own suspicions. Okay, I have my own ideas of why, but I could be completely wrong, you know. But let's go ahead. So, I mean, just literally looking at Excel, just literally going ahead and going to the website, copying and pasting these numbers, going ahead and cleaning them up, so to speak, you can already see that, hey, we're getting some common themes here. Okay. And here's the thing, let's go back to our notes. And on our notes, what we actually had, let's go back here. Ta-da. Okay, so remember, we have our game our strategy for the game that we have. Okay, just knowing this right here is that we're gonna play anywhere between 5 to 6 lines. Okay, we already have our very first line. Our first line is just gonna be a random quick pick, and we're gonna go ahead and study that. Okay. So we want to make sure that we study that, see, hey, what's going on with this? What's up? Here's our strategies. So quick pick, a lot of people say, hey, don't use the quick pick and whatnot, but we want to compare the quick pick to some of the other 5 or so strategies that we have. We also had the Richard Lusting method. Notice with him, when we did our research with him, he never mentioned anything about going ahead and doing data analysis. His was more so, I don't want to say esoteric, but his was more overall um, bird's eye view picture. Okay, he's saying, hey, pick your own numbers, stick to the same numbers, use a balanced set of numbers, play consistently, buy more tickets, join a lottery pool, manage your money wisely. And we already did, we talked about some of the things that we can do and some of the things we can't do. Okay. However, the most important thing that I want to get out of this right here is that just using his method without looking at the numbers, we actually picked some numbers. Okay. And we picked 4, 69, 22, 9, 36. Okay, so what I want to do, okay, is just looking at these numbers that we picked. Okay, just looking at these numbers that we picked, I want to see if at all Okay, if at all, we would have hit anything, so to speak. Okay. So, and mind you, if you've been following along, I think this was like the second video or so that we did. And we literally pulled these numbers straight out of thin air, right? Everything that we were talking about was just like, hey, we want to go even low, odd high. And mind you, we were just literally out of thin air. We made it up. Okay. Like let's be honest here. We made it up. Okay. But now that we have some new information, we can go ahead and make another decision. For example, when I took the numbers that we got from the California lottery, I came up. Well, I didn't come up with anything. I just dabbling, so to speak. I realized, okay, and we can take a look at this. So even before I show it to you, I want to explain it to you and let you know exactly what it is. So I did a number distribution. Okay, so remember now we're talking about we're focusing on what we learned from Joseph, right? Joseph was talking about going ahead and looking at the mean, looking at the median, looking at the mode, looking at the standard deviation, things of that nature. Okay, so Excel, like notice, just using Excel, we took the average. Mind you, this is for ball number one, this is for ball number two, this is ball number three, ball number four, ball number five, and then obviously the power ball. Okay. And notice a couple things. Okay. I took the min and the max. Notice that ball number one, for whatever reason, it's not to say that it can't happen. Okay. It's not to say that it can't happen. It's just, I'm looking at this as what's more likely to happen. And the first thing that I saw here is just comparing what we had to what this is. Okay. Let's go ahead, take a look here. Just comparing what we had to what this is, I already knew, hey, you know what? These numbers that I picked, more than likely I don't really want to mess with, so to speak. Okay. And I didn't even have a chance to compare these numbers to the previous to some of these numbers, and we can do that later on because that's always fun. We're here to compare numbers, we're here. But let's go ahead. We're gonna make a note. So these are numbers. I'm going to go ahead and put this note. This is going to be original. So this was our original numbers. And now I'm going to go ahead and put side note. And we're going to put the date today, which is February what? The 18th, 24. Goodness gracious. Okay, side note, February 18th, 2024. Okay. And we're going to change the numbers. Okay, so we're going to change the numbers. Okay. But we're going to change them not so much, so to speak. Okay. This is the idea. Okay. There was if any number on here, okay, if you guys see any number, uh, I, I'm going to change two numbers, so to speak. Okay. And you might have guessed why. Okay, so this is something where it's just like, hey, let's use our thinking brain here. Okay, I'm gonna give you some information, and you let me know which numbers I should change. Um, I already know which numbers I'm gonna change, but just looking at this for ball one. Okay, so this is ball one right here. Notice that the min and the max. So it's playing between a range of 1 through 35. It does not go past 35. So is 4 a good number? Well, yes, it is. Let's go to ball number two. Ball number two is playing between 2 and 55. So is 69 a good number? No, it's not. So 69 for ball number two, while we're not saying that it can't happen, we're just saying based on the information that we have, it's not likely to happen. So we're going to highlight that there. Now let's go to ball number three. Ball number three is playing between a range of 7 to 60. Okay, 7 to 60 with the average actually being 34. So while 22 might be a decent number, so to speak, it's within range. So you know what? We were feeling 22 that day. Let's keep it at 22. It's within range. We can live with that. Now let's go on to the next one, which was 9. Okay, this is ball number 4. ball number 4 was actually playing between the ranges of 13 to 68. Okay, so we were playing between 13 to 68, and we picked 9. So we can see that the numbers that we picked, 69 and 9, are actually out of range. So that's not something that we would want to go ahead and play. Once again, the idea of, hey, it could technically happen, but the probability of it happening, not likely. And then lastly, for ball number 5, we were playing 36, and the range that we had here was anywhere between 28 to 69. So while 36 is lower than the actual average for ball number 5, it technically is still within range. Okay, so and actually, believe it or not, the 13 for the Powerball, considering that that's generally the average, and it's generally right between 1 and 26. That's actually not a bad number to pick, mind you. The most common number was actually 20. Okay, for the Powerball that we've seen. Let's go ahead, and we're going to have to change some of these numbers. So we can see for ball number 1, 4 looks good. For ball number 2, we're going to have to go ahead and change that. Okay, and mind you, these are the numbers. This set of numbers is critical to keep, because we're going to keep these set of numbers. Okay, just based on the rules that Richard had, is keeping these numbers consistent. So throughout the span of those 3 months that we're going to be playing, we want to keep these numbers consistent. So we can't once we pick these numbers, we can't change them. Obviously, we had the original numbers, but just based upon the data that we got, literally off of an Excel sheet, we realized that, hey, the numbers we picked are not they're they're not they could be better. So let's make it better. So going into ball number 2, so we know that the range is anywhere between 2 to 55. Okay, with the average being 24.52, which, I mean, we could just go ahead and round up to 25. So with that being said, I feel comfortable. I don't know if you guys notice this as well. I mean, there's a lot of things you can break down here too. Notice here on the averages. Notice on the averages, it kind of goes up by like 12, so to speak. So it goes from 11 being the average, to 24 being the average, to 34 being the average, to 46 being the average, to 57 being the average. So each ball seems to be increasing its average. Okay. That is a normal pattern that you can see. I mean, you don't even need to graph it. You can just literally look at it. That's one of the first things I saw as well. I know I'm mentioning it now, but just looking at that, um, I was a little bit more concerned about the ranges, but I do see that with regards to the averages as well. So that seems to be, and mind you, this is accumulated data over a long period of time, right? It's literally the lottery. Anything can happen at any time. You just never know. But looking at this, I feel comfortable with number 4. Okay. And the standard deviation, let's go with 4. If we feel comfortable with 4, the standard deviation of 4, you would just literally you would add 12. If we round that up, I think it would be 17. 17 is actually, I feel comfortable with 17. I just pulled it out of thin air, but 17 is a better number for the second ball, because it's between 2 and 5, and it's playing within that range that we see. And the average is 24. And just looking at the standard deviation, and based upon the information that we learned, was, and mind you, I know this is normal distribution before normal distribution compared to uniform distribution, but we're trying to fit that round square in a peg hole, or peg, you know what I'm trying to say. But what I want to convey is that, remember the empirical rule. Okay, the empirical rule saying that 68% of the numbers within a normal distribution is going to fall within the first standard deviation of your average. Okay, so looking at that, I feel extremely comfortable picking 17. Okay. And if you guys are like, what the heck is he saying? Mind you, we're building upon this. I know some of the videos can be a little bit slow sometimes, and there's just like, oh, numbers, we really don't want to deal this. So I know it's not necessarily for all the particular for all types of audiences, but I find this stuff fascinating. It's just like look at all this stuff, look at all this data we have. Okay, just based on some of the data from just copying and pasting off a website, we can start to look at stuff, and we haven't even touched any of the coding. Okay, and we already know, hey, we have a pretty good idea, so to speak. Okay, so nonetheless, 417. Notice that. Okay, notice here, uh, the third ball we put 22. Okay, 22 is not a bad number to have, but 22 is right between 7 and 60, but our average is 34. So if we just build upon 4, okay, if we just build upon 4, um, we can actually go ahead, and the standard deviation for that would be 12. So if we were to add, mind you, it goes even, odd, even. I mean, we can actually go with 30. 30 wouldn't be bad. Not to say 22 is bad, okay? But uh, let's go with 30. And the only reason I'm going to go with 30 is because 17 and 22 are pretty close together. I mean, it could happen. There could be a 17 and 20. Okay, but for 1730, okay, for 1730, I feel a little bit more comfortable with that because it's a good mix between, it's not only within the range, but it's also playing within the average. It's not the exact average, so to speak, but it's playing within that standard deviation of that average. So let's go on to the next one. And the next one is actually ball number 4. And ball number 4, notice that we actually originally picked 9. Okay. And 9, as you can tell, is actually not a really good choice. Okay. Because the ranges that we had, a couple things that this, just looking at the first 3 lines. One, the average for ball number 4 is actually 46. And we literally picked 9. So, and not only that, but the minimum number that's hit for ball number 4 has been 13. Okay, it's once again, it's not to say that 9 cannot happen. Okay, this whole thing can happen. 4, 69, 22, 9, 36, 13 are all viable numbers, and they all technically have the same opportunity statistically, but just based on the data that we have, we're on our mind, we're thinking, hey, more than likely not going to happen. So let's go with something that will more than likely happen. Okay, so with that being said, I would actually, believe it or not, I would go with 49. Okay. 49 is great because it's right within the first standard deviation of the average, and it's right between the ranges of 13 to 68. Okay. So let's go on to the next one. And the next one was actually 57 was the average for what would be the fifth ball. And the range between that was actually 28 through 69. Okay, so just looking at that, it's like, okay, you know what? You picked the 36. Not to say that 36 hasn't hit, but uh, you'd probably be better off with something like 56. Okay, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. 56. Okay, so obviously we really changed the numbers. We went from 4, 69, 22, 9, 36, 13, okay, to 4, 17, 30, 49, 56, 13. And these are not the original numbers. Oh, it was a copy and paste. So this was numbers after learning. All right, we'll just say numbers after Excel sheet. After Excel, oops, after Excel sheet, looking at the, I guess, what were we looking at? What exactly were we looking at? Um, number All right, guys. So we have some interesting details nonetheless. But it's interesting. Okay, so mind you, just looking at the numbers. Okay, mind you, these were the random numbers that we would have picked. But going ahead and actually going and looking into the number distribution, taking a look at Joseph's method, and because we only have so much ammunition, and because it is a short-term project, so to speak, definitely feel changing these numbers back to what would be this. Okay, so these are going to be the numbers we're going to play moving forward. And it's always nice to keep your notes because you can be like, hey, this is what I thought, this is why I changed, so on and so forth. So the numbers we're going to play, obviously they changed. 4, 17, 30, 49, 56, 13, which actually, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is kind of Scout's honor. I haven't actually looked at these numbers to see if they would have even won. Okay. Um, so let's actually let's play a little experiment. Okay, so we already have the numbers that basically we've known that they've won. We've shown that these have been the winning lottery numbers um, for basically lots of money. Let's actually compare our numbers now to the previous numbers. So, and also, I want to go ahead and compare. Remember our side note where I asked ChatGPT just for random lottery numbers? We'll compare those two, and maybe we can go ahead and keep a tally. But nonetheless, guys, let's go back and see what numbers did we have here. Okay, so we had. Let's go back. So we're gonna go to control find. Let's go to 4. Okay. And let's go here. This should be for this line here. So we're looking for 4, but we're looking for the 4 and actually and just the ball 1. So let's go ahead and we see that that technically has happened, but it went from 4 to 6 to 16 to 39 to 66 to 9. And obviously that doesn't match any of these numbers that we have. Let's see if there's another 4. And there actually is another 4. Okay, so it went from 4 to 24, 29, 39, 63, 25. Okay, so nonetheless, that's literally. Do we have any matches on that? Uh, no, we literally just have one match. Let's take a look, and there's actually another one here. Ticket 1368. I don't know the date, but it goes 430, 39, 44, 60, 11. So that wasn't a match either. Uh, there's another 4. Here's another 4. It goes 4, 34, 35, 38, 69, 19. So that wasn't a match either. There's another 4 here, but that's for ball number 2, which we're not too worried about. And actually, wow, look at this. Look at this right here. You wouldn't expect that. Uh, Literally 3 days in a row, so to speak, in terms of the lottery days, because it was the 19th, the 22nd, the 26th, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they play it Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, or something. Um, they have 4-9, okay, which we don't have. 36, which we don't have. 47, which we don't have. 56. Oh, actually, we do have 56. That actually wouldn't have been too bad if I'm not mistaken. This one right here, ticket 1320. So that actually wouldn't have been too bad. We would have gotten two numbers. We would have gotten ball 1 and we would have gotten ball 5, which actually, hey, we can live with that. Um, what else do we have? The next one was 4, 5, 15, 32, 62. And I think we literally would have just gotten the 4. There's another 4. It goes 4, 27, 44, 50, 64, 13. No, we just would have gotten the 4. The next one here, it would have been 4, 36, 48, 54, and 56. And you know what? There's a here's a crazy thing. Just looking at these two, ticket 1320 and and ticket 1314, both started with 4, and both of them actually ended with 56. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, if lightning can strike twice, and I guess that does it for all the fours. So as you can see, this technically, even just changing the numbers that we had here, even though we didn't hit balls, the second ball, the third ball, the fourth ball, you do notice that we actually have a better chance of going ahead and playing the numbers that we currently changed to right now. It gives us a better opportunity, you know. Uh, so nonetheless, those are the numbers. Let's go back and let's go ahead and check. Remember, we just randomly asked Chat GPT, and we're gonna probably need to make an Excel sheet here. So let's make an Excel sheet. So this would be sheet number 3, and this is gonna be we're gonna call this tally. So this should be our tally. So we got to rename this. This is going to be tally. Okay. Uh, did I put the caps? Okay, there we go. Tally sheet. Okay, so let's go here. And what we're going to go ahead and do, because I still want to go ahead and study. We still have one more person to study. Here we're going to do, we're going to go with date. The date for this, the date that we had, before we even have the, yeah, no, I usually go with the date. Let's go with date. Let's go with reason, date, reason, and then ball 1, ball 2, ball 3, ball 4, ball 5, and then the power ball. And the power ball, of course. Powerball. Powerball. And then we're going to go ahead and we'll put hit. We'll put miss. And then we could just put overall. Mind you, I'm just typing things. I don't have a picture in my mind, so to speak. I just want to get the information down, and then we can mess around with it later on. But for right now, this was on 2/11. 25, and the numbers that we had were 7, 14, and 12. So let's go here. Let's put this here. Let's paste that. And if for those of you guys who don't know, it worked for me last time. If you go here, right? If you type these in, and it's in one cell, you just go to the cell. You're gonna go to data. You're gonna go to split text to columns. So I went to data. I went to the cell that has the information. I go to the data. I go to split text to columns, and it gives you the operation. Hey, how do you want to separate these, by comma, semicolon, period, or space? CVS, that's generally what the comma. That's something that a lot of data and data files are saved as, or written as, or what have you. In this case, we have the space. So I go to space, and boom, voila. I got 7, 14, 22, 33, 48, and the Powerball is 12. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's keep that there. And what was the reason? It was a random ask Chat GPT. Remember, if you guys watched the previous video, we just asked Chat GPT to randomly give us the numbers. You can watch the video. It's uneventful, but nonetheless, we asked Chat GPT. So let's go ahead. Let's go to February 11th, or it might have been the next day, which was, so if we had, and actually we don't even have that. Well, that's embarrassing. Yeah, we don't have that information. So guess what we have to do with their data sheet? So let's go back to the Powerball. Let's go back to past winning numbers. I told you I was missing a few. Let's go to the first page. Okay, so February 12th and February 15th. You guys can see I haven't really messed around with this. Let me go. Let's go here. February 12th. And actually, we'll just compare. I can add it later. February 12th. So we asked ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, go ahead and give us the lottery numbers. So we asked it on the 11th. The draw came out on the 12th. And the draw was 21, 32, 36, 45, 49, and 18. Okay, so let's go back to our sheet here. And I can update it later on. But let's go to the tally sheet. So we had a total of. So this was a complete. I'm just gonna put. So we hit zero. We literally hit zero, and it was a complete miss. So complete miss. So right now, ChatGPT, with regards to just asking ChatGPT to start hitting random numbers, ChatGPT zero. We can put it here. ChatGPT ChatGPT um, scoreboard would be. I don't know how. I mean, there's a couple different ways we can break it down. We can break it down by, hey, you hit one ball, or hey, you completely miss. And in this case, it's just going to be ChatGPT. Um, we'll go hits. I don't know how. There's so many different ways, guys. That's the problem with making these videos when you're just doing the video off the top of your head. Hits, miss. But do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, you guys can literally go ahead and say, hey, you hit one ball out of five. Hey, at least you got one hit. Or you can go ahead and say, hey, you got two out of five, three out of five. Hey, you got the whole five, but you missed the Powerball. Or hey, you literally won. Okay. Um, Granted, one in 300 million chance of winning. But you got to take the data. Hits, miss, and so hits. All this to say is ChatGPT is one for 0 and 1. ChatGPT, you are 0 and 1. ChatGPT 0 out of 1. I don't know how that would work. I'm just gonna put 0 out of 1. Hits, 0 hits, 5 misses. Okay. Technically 6 because it's the Powerball too. So 6. And you can imagine how this can be a little bit more complex later on. But ideally, we would want to have our strategies here where we would be a quick pick as well, so on and so forth. But that's something I don't want to do with this at this point in time. We talked about Joseph's the idea of number distribution, and I found that really helpful, and I found that really helped a lot. Just changing our numbers, and as you guys can see, just looking at the number distribution with the numbers that we previously had compared to the numbers that we have now, just looking at the past winning numbers, we went. We can say we had 100% increase because we went from hitting one number to literally hitting two numbers. Okay, ideally the whole idea is to get all the numbers, but nonetheless, just looking at, and this is kind of where statistics can get kind of crazy. There was this great book called Lying with Statistics. Okay, and how you can manipulate. You don't even have to manipulate statistics. You can just measure what you want to measure and say what you want to say in order for it to tell a story that you want it to tell. And some of you guys are going to go way past what I said and not realizing what I said. So I'm going to say it again. There's this amazing book that's called Lying with Statistics, and with statistics in particular, you can have the numbers say what they want to say while telling the story that you want to tell. And that's one of the reasons why I'm actually documenting this whole process. It's just like, hey, what exactly did you do, so on and so forth. What were you like? What's going on? Because it's just like transparency. The currency of truth is critical nowadays. So that's basically it here. Let's go ahead, and I think we got about 15 or so minutes. I want to go back. Okay. And notice we didn't really do anything for day 4. But day 4, we're gonna go and study our last individual. And the last individual that we had was Gail. Okay, so Gail. Howard. So, Mr. Howard, what did you do? Okay, let's see. What did you do? And I kind of have an idea of what he did, but let's go ahead and let's move these notes here, and let's go into ChatGPT, and let's go ahead and pick ChatGPT's brain. So let's go to start now. Okay, so let's go ahead and ask ChatGPT. Let's stay logged out. We don't need to log in. ChatGPT. Okay, what do you know about Gail Howard? Let's see. What do you know, man? What do you know? Tell us what you know, ChatGPT. Gail is a name associated with the field of lottery strategy and number selection. Oh, she's actually. I thought it was a guy. It's a she. And funny enough, guys, if you remember, for those of you guys who say, "Hey, numbers, it's really dominated," but I don't even know if I can say this nowadays. But for those of you guys who say, "Hey, you know what, numbers or math is really dominated. It's really a male dominant field, so on and so forth." Uh, out of the five, I think out of the five people we studied, there was two females. Remember, one of them we kind of took out because she was more so studying, or she was more so in the sense she had two things going for her. She was more of scratchers. We're not playing scratchers. We're focused on the lottery. Though it did say she was interested in data analysis. And then the second thing that got her was that they accused her, and just because you accuse someone doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It doesn't look good. You have to dive deeper into the story. But they did accuse her allegedly of having inside information, right? So that's kind of one of the things. But nonetheless, it's not a bad idea to go back and study and look at what she did. Mind you, we don't have inside information. We have open source information. But that was one of the things that definitely got her. That was kind of like, hey, she has insider information. We don't trust her, but she was into data analysis. But nonetheless, yeah, I mean, hey, man, knowledge is knowledge. It doesn't matter if it's coming from a man or it doesn't matter if it's coming from a woman. If it works, it works. And that's generally my attitude. Um, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and see. So, Gail Howard is a name associated with the field of lottery strategy and number selection. She is well known for writing books and offering systems designed to help people increase their chances of winning the lottery, particularly in games like Powerball, Mega Millions, and other forms of another form of number-based lotteries. That's exactly why we're studying you, Gail. Okay, because we were playing the Powerball, so what you're teaching is up our alley. Howard's system often focused on statistical analysis and patterns, providing methods like lucky numbers, number grouping, and various tips to improve the odds of selecting winning combinations. Her most famous work is Lottery Master Guide, where she introduces several strategies that aim to reduce the randomness of lottery outcomes by using certain number patterns. While her methods have been popular among lottery enthusiasts, it's important to note that there is no way to guarantee a win in such games, something we already knew, as they are inherently random, which actually we went ahead and talked about on the very first day. That was literally one of the fundamental questions that we asked. And we kind of got, if you guys remember that first video, we kind of got something that said, "Hey, um that's not necessarily true, unless, but watch the video." Her theories and systems have been both praised and criticized, with some lottery players claiming that they increase their success, while others argue that the nature of lotteries makes any method unreliable. Nonetheless, Gail Howard has a significant following among people interested in playing the lottery more strategically. Okay, what exact methods did she use? What exact methods did she use? Explain more about the. There was a couple keywords that they had here. One of them, and I think it's starting to become overplayed, is a statistical analysis. The statistical analysis. What exact methods did she use? Explain more about the statistical analysis, patterns, and so on. All right. Let's see here. Gail, okay, let's see here. Gail methods for lottery number selections are based on her analysis of statistical patterns. Okay, I mean, you just keep using that word, but what is it? Frequency of numbers and various systems designed to identify more likely combinations to play. She believed that while lotteries are random, there are patterns and trends that can help increase the odds of winning, even though they cannot guarantee a win. Here are some of the key methods she used: the frequency analysis, hot numbers. Okay, guys, that's literally what we went and we talked about right now. Okay. Going back to our information, our Excel sheet, it's actually nice to have some data now. Now, now we're cooking, baby. Now we're cooking. All right. So now based on the 6 pages of information that we got, right? Remember what we talked about? We just go to data, we go to column stats, and these would be considered our hot numbers. Number one came up 15 times. Number nine came up 9 times. Number eight came up 9 times. Number four came up 4 times. Number five came up 8 times. My mind's already kind of churning, so to speak, right now, because it's just kind of like, hey, and we literally talked about it too. Notice here, let's see. Notice when four came up, there was a good chance of 56 coming up, and that happened multiple times. You know, that was literally like 20 minutes ago. Please tell me you remember. But yeah, let's keep reading. Hot numbers used frequency analysis to identify hot numbers, which are those that appear more frequently in past draws. The theory behind this method is that numbers which have appeared more often in the past are likely to appear again, based on her idea that patterns can repeat. Okay, we like that. Cold numbers, conversely, cold numbers are those that appear less frequently or haven't appeared in recent draws. Some players believe that cold numbers may be due to show up. Dude, that's literally roulette, man. We're literally talking about roulette. Okay, that is literally the idea of roulette. Some people are like, go with the trend. If it's 5 times, if it's been red 5 times, keep going with red. Hey, if it's been red 5 times, it has to be black. You know, um, so yeah, fun fact. Howard used this theory to help players select numbers that might be overdue for a draw. Okay, we kind of like that. She suggested tracking the frequency of numbers over time, typically over the last 20 to 50. Ooh, guys, this is some new information. Okay, so okay, so funny enough, okay, so she's talking about. Dude, I feel like that's a really good piece of information that it goes ahead and would change the numbers drastically. Okay, because if you're just looking at the last 20 to 50 numbers compared to all 113, then obviously it's going to change. Okay, so let's make a quick note of that because that is actually what we would want to go ahead. So I'm going to just type my notes off the screen. So hot numbers. So she was a big believer in hot numbers and cold numbers. And she was talking about the idea of looking at the last 20 to 50 draws. Okay, 20 to 50 draws. I feel like that's a big nugget of information, and incorporating both in hot cold numbers into a selection strategy. So she is actually, hey, don't just pick all the hot numbers, pick the cold numbers. So I wonder, was she like a hot number, cold number, or was she hot number, cold number, hot number, cold number? Okay, nonetheless, and I think this is one of the reasons we wrote her down. The wheeling system. I don't know exactly what that is. Number grouping and wheel systems. One of the most popular techniques she promoted was the use of wheeling systems. Wheeling involves selecting a group of numbers and using a set of predefined combinations that ensure multiple possible winning combinations. The idea is that by playing several combinations of a chosen group of numbers, a player increases their chances of winning across multiple potential outcomes. Still don't get it. Kind of still don't get it. Group division. Gail Howard suggested dividing numbers into groups based on patterns she identified in historical draws. For example, in a typical 649 lottery, she might suggest grouping numbers into 1 to 10, 11 to 20, etc., or even separating them by high, low, odd, and even numbers. The goal was to avoid picking all the numbers from the same group, increasing the likelihood. That's literally. So notice here, that they're now we're starting to cross barriers, so to speak. Okay, because Gail Gail's strategy is basically intersecting with Richard's strategy, because they might not be saying the same exact words, but they're conveying the same idea. Not looking at the wheeling system, but just looking at the group division, right? So remember separating them by high, low, odd, even. That's something that we literally did in the beginning. Okay. Odd, even, high, low number balancing. Howard also focused on the balance of odd, even, high, low numbers. For example, in a typical lottery draw, players would be encouraged to select a balance of mixed odd, so on and so forth. Similarly, she emphasized balancing high above the midpoint of the range and low below the midpoint numbers. For example, if the number range is 1 through 49, she suggests selecting a combination of three high numbers above 25 and three low numbers below 25. Okay, I kind of like that. We have to pick 1 through 69. Okay. Um Odd, even, high, low. So, for example, if the number range is 1 through 49, she might suggest selecting combination of three high numbers above 25 and three low numbers below 25. I mean, that's something we kind of already did. Okay, number clusters. Another strategy Gail Howard used was based on number clusters. This involved identifying areas on the lottery ticket grid where certain numbers frequently appeared together. For example, if certain group numbers, say 1 through 10, 11 to 20, tend to appear more often in recent draws, players would be encouraged to select numbers from these clusters. Um, I mean, number clusters, is that just another word for number distribution? It looks like this is literally just another paragraph of just the frequency. But in this case, instead of just looking at one ball, I guess where number clusters would differentiate would be that you're actually looking at the two balls together, so to speak. Um, but let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's write that down on our notes. So we're going to talk about number clusters. And actually, believe it or not, that was something I kind of already was trying to do. And I'll prove it to you, right? This would be the number cluster here, number distribution, first two ball. Okay, so for the two slots. So notice my number cluster here. This would have been, instead of looking at each individual ball, we would look at this here, the ball one and two together as a whole. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what she was talking about. Clustering one and two, and then three and four, or and then maybe one, two, three. Okay. So, and funny enough, you start to see, hey, number one, number two, between one and two, between ball one and two, the one that comes up the most between those two is nine. Okay. So that's actually interesting. Let's continue. Oh, dude, this is the second time we talk about delta systems, and I honestly don't know what a delta system is. Like, Howard introduced the concept of delta numbers, which refers to the difference between the numbers selected. Well, I guess that sounds kind of like Muhammad. For example, if you pick 5 and 10, the delta difference is 5. Some lottery players use this approach to look for patterns in the deltas between winning numbers, assuming that the certain deltas, such as smaller or larger differences, appear more frequently than others. Okay, so delta systems, guys, literally looking at the delta systems, that's honestly basically going back to the idea of Muhammad. Okay. Remember, Mohammed had the arithmetic and the geometric sequences with regards to like number patterns. So being ahead, and we even wrote down some mathematical equations like, hey, if you have, so looking at this, if I'm comprehending this correctly, just looking at this very first, let's go with this right here, 2 and 17. So the delta of that would be 15. 17 and 18, the delta of that would be 1. Okay, 18 and 29, the delta of that would be 11. And then I guess looking and trying to find if there is some type of pattern, some type of basically like some